I'm Harry Godber. I'm the Vice President and Orchestra Manager of the New South Wales Youth Orchestra. I'm here in the Fine Music FM studio with the extraordinary young violinist, Anna Da Silva Chen. Welcome.
Thank you.
Anna's playing Sibelius's Violin Concerto with the New South Wales Youth Orchestra in our first concert for 2016. It's at 7 p.m. on Saturday the 7th of May in the Verbrugghen Hall. Now, Anna, you're 19 years old, but you've already made quite a name for yourself. You're without doubt, I'd say, one of the most prominent young violinists in Australia today. And you've played alongside some incredible performers. Mm-hmm. Tell me about some of the highlights for you personally.
What first comes to mind is my performance of Elgar's Violin Concerto with the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra. I was 15 and participating at, I think, the Symphony Australia ABC Young Performance Awards as a string finalist. And that has forever stayed in my mind because it solidified my love for music making. I had so much fun performing. And I had already been in need of music in my life, and I was determined to keep it there. But that was definitely a point where I thought there is no other option. I found what makes me happy. Then, of course, I'd have to mention playing with the Sydney Symphony Orchestra at the Opera House. That was a surreal experience because they asked me only 3 weeks before the gig.
Oh, wow.
And I was to play The Larkest Ending by Vaughan Williams, which was a piece I'd never learnt or even properly listened to. And so it was a very frantic 3 weeks of practicing and memorising and preparation. And in the end, I was very nervous, but I had an incredible amount of fun, and I still feel so lucky to have received that opportunity. Then I've also done quite a few Tchaikovsky concerto performances, the first being with Adelaide Symphony, again for YPA, and then the Ku-ring-gai Philharmonic Orchestra, and then most recently with the Metropolitan Orchestra. I was quite happy with that one. And then outside of solo playing, I was lucky enough to tour Australia with Selby and Friends last year. And it was a piano quintet group with Catherine Selby, Sophie Rowell, Tobias Brighter and Julian Smiles. And so just being able to spend time and chat and work with such brilliant musicians was really inspiring, and I learned a hell of a lot.
Clearly your musical career has developed remarkably quickly. But how did it all start? What were some of your earlier experiences?
Well, I come from a non-musical family, but there was always music at home that was either Chinese or Portuguese because of where my parents are from. But on top of that, my father used to listen to a lot of violin recordings. So Heifetz Oistrakh, Schering, Kogan, Ferras, all the greatest violinists of the 20th century. And so I was already at a young age exposed to the sort of sound world a violinist was able to create. And I think, I started when I was 8, but this was after being enrolled at the Wollongong Conservatorium of Music in childhood music education classes, I think it was called. And this mainly consisted of singing and dancing. We learnt some cute little German songs, how to read and notate basic music. And then we'd be introduced to a new instrument every week. And after that process, we'd be asked which ones we wanted to play. And naturally, I said violin and piano. Piano was more of a, this instrument is very useful. So I'll take that on.
Now you're just starting your second year, is that right, at the Sydney Conservatorium?
Yeah.
What do you think you've taken away from your studies so far at a tertiary level?
Well, I've gained essential music skills, I guess, from the music theory classes, oral perception, keyboard studies. I've gained great knowledge from my music history subjects. And the teaching is actually at a very high standard. I especially enjoyed the history courses I chose last year. And in the second one, I was actually required to watch the entire Ring Cycle by Wagner. So, I can say I've done that. And, of course, studying with Alice Watton has been very, very rewarding. She's amazing at identifying what needs to be improved and how to improve it. And also just her passion and knowledge about, I guess, the art of violin teaching is never-ending. I also co-lead the unconducted string chamber orchestra at the Con, which is probably my favourite thing about uni. because there's so much to learn simply from playing in an ensemble. And we perform some really good repertoire.
Playing in an orchestra, I think, is very important for the development of someone as a musician. What do you think you've taken away from your orchestral experiences at the Con and elsewhere that you might not have taken away from playing as a soloist?
Well, the first time I properly played in an orchestra was actually only 2 years ago at the NSWYO National Music Camp. And we were playing symphonies by Haydn and Sibelius and Shostakovich. That was, quite frankly, really scary for me because I was leading the orchestra and I had little to no experience. And but it was incredibly heartwarming and special to be surrounded by supportive peers and tutors. And it was very useful for me individually because I was learning about what exactly goes on inside of an orchestra, being inside of the sound rather than outside of it, because that's where I'd always been. So yeah, very useful, very intense couple of weeks, but of course an honour to work with the conductors.
Yeah, I think as you mentioned, the social aspect of an orchestra, just being with like-minded musicians is so important. And I think it's fantastic for us at the New South Wales Youth Orchestra to be able to work with you this season.
Yeah.
We're playing the Sibelius Violin Concerto. What is it about the Sibelius that makes it a special choice for you?
Well, Sibelius's concerto I know very well. As a child, I listened to my dad's recording of Christian Ferris playing it on DVD, which is an amazing performance, I should add. And I've always felt, even as a child listening to it, I felt quite differently towards it in comparison to other well-known concertos. And I've always felt that, watching or listening to a performance of it is more of a spiritual experience rather than merely an entertaining one. And I've always felt that every emotion that is conveyed in the concerto is very raw and honest, and it can be full of modesty and integrity, but at the same time there is suffering and desperation at all times. And I think I started learning this when I was 15, and I was more concerned with technical issues rather than the musical ones. But there's so much, I guess it demands so much technically, but demands so much more in regards to its emotional content and like what's actually written in the score. And so I guess that's what sets it apart to other concertos for me and subsequently makes it very dear to me.
I've heard it said many times that Sibelius is one of the more challenging violin concertos, but you think that's more of an emotional challenge than a technical one? It
is, and also to maintain a sort of, to feel natural while playing it as well is quite difficult. But should always be there, should always feel natural because it is human emotion. And it was put on a page by Sibelius, who felt, so much about about violin playing, because it's very violinistic, and he wanted to be a violinist himself. And so to honour that is quite difficult. Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in the future after you graduate?
Well, I know for sure that I'll keep playing my instrument and studying everything there is to know about music. And I just, honestly, it boils down to how much hard work I put into it now and will continue to put into it. And I just want to achieve as much as I can as a soloist, as a recitalist, as a concerto performer, as a chamber player and orchestral musician, because there's so much to discover in the world of performance. I guess to be specific, I'd love to study in Europe. I'd love to further my studies there. But yeah, in a broader sense, my happiness requires music to, I need that in my life to be happy. I need that as enrichment. And of course, I feel great responsibility in my playing because I want to show people how much it means to me. And also I want them to acknowledge and cherish the genius of music. And that's what I've wanted to do since I first performed to an audience.
Well, you can hear Anna playing Sibelius's Violin Concerto with the New South Wales Youth Orchestra, kicking off our 2016 concert season. It's at 7 p.m. on Saturday, the 7th of May, in the Verbrugghen Hall at the Sydney Conservatorium. And if you want more information about the orchestra or the concert, or if you want to buy tickets, you can visit our website. It's NSWYO.com.au. Anna, it's been fantastic to talk to you. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks very much.